Hello. In today's video, we are going to work on automatic speed increase. So when player run for certain time and reach like some kind of threshold, we're going to increase movement speed. Let's start by creating new game object and let's call it something like game manager. And let's create script. It should be like game object without any components. It won't be visible on the screen. So next, create script. Let's call it also game manager. Scripting game manager. And open this script. So we would need few parameters. First of all, we are going to increase player speed. So we need somehow get access to the player. We can do it through inspector. So I'm going to create serialized field, which would be type of private, type of player. And now when I go to UI, to the inspector, and I open this game manager, I'm sorry, I did not attach the script. So here is the script. I can drag my player here. So now we have the player. Also, we need few additional parameters. So I'm going to create here header for better visibility, and let's call it speed control. And what we need? First, we need a private float, and we call this speed multiplier. It's the value on which we should increase player speed after certain time. Next, we going to define the max speed because we don't want speed to be increased all of the time. After a certain time, we should stop and no longer increase the speed. So let's call this max speed. Next variable which we need is milestone multiplier. So what does it mean? Let me create it, milestone multiplier. So we don't want to increase speed every time for the same distance because, for example, at first we are going to increase speed when player moved for 100 like units. Then we increase speed and we increase speed. So at first, for player, it will take like 5 seconds or 10 seconds maybe to reach this 100 units. But once speed is increased, he will be reaching this threshold faster and faster. At some point of time, it will just would be second or less for him to reach this milestone. So we want to make those milestones bigger every time. So that's why we have this milestone multiplier. And now let's create a milestone itself. We don't need this to be a serialized field because we're not going to set value in editor, in inspector for this value. And also we would need default speed and default milestone, but we will add this later because we're going to use that for speed reset. Right now, we're going to do just speed increase. So let's start by creating the start method. This is the method which is executed when we start the game. And we need to set some values here. So first, we need some default value for speed milestone. So maybe multiplier is not correct value. Let's use increaser. Because we're not going to multiply, we are going to increase. So first, we assign this speed milestone as a milestone increaser value. And also, we need to, I think for now, that's all what we need to do in the start. Now let's create method itself where we are going to execute. So inside of the update, we're going to execute method, and let's call this method maybe uh, speed increaser. So this method does not exist right now. Let's create it. So method is created. Now let's create functionality. So how it will work? So first we need to check if player is reached some certain threshold. So how can we do it? We can do it through condition. So we already have the player, and from the player we can get current position. To do this, we are going to use player. From player we get game object, and from game object we can get transform and get position.x. So we are checking if this position higher than speed milestone. If it's true, we need to increase the speed and increase milestone. So how can we increase speed? A player has variable move speed, and it's public variable. That means we can modify it from another scripts. So let's access player, and here we can access this move speed variable. And what we can do, we can multiply. So we can write this like this, multiply it by speed multiplier. But as you see, it's grayed out this for me, so that's not best way how to write. So like better way would be like this. Those two lines means the same. And also we need to increase milestone. We're going to speed milestone. We're going to increase it on our milestone increaser. We can also, in theory, do similar way how we did here. If we not multiply, but not increase by adding some value, but we can multiply. That's also makes sense. But I don't know what would be better. Let's try with this, and we can always change it if it's required. And also we need to increase itself milestone increaser, and we are going to increase it on the same value as we are increasing the speed. So I'm going to multiply it on speed multiplier. Okay, so now we have this, but also just in case we want to protect ourselves by adding condition. So if player move speed for some reason is higher than max speed, we're going to set player move speed to the max speed. So player would never have speed higher than max speed. Now let's go to the inspector. Let's set our values and let's test. But before I need to delete this to not prevent us from running. So let's set max speed something like 20. And speed multiplier, let's do it as 1.2, and milestone is increaser, let's do it as 50, I guess, because we would be able to see result faster. So now I can start the game. Let's select player to see his speed. So right now our default speed, where it is move speed 5. So let's start the game. It's very slow, but also let's check position of the player. It's need to start from the 0, because right now it's starting from -39, so we will need to wait a bit longer for player to reach. So let's start from the 0. And now once player reach 50, speed should be increased. So right now we have move speed as 5, so it's 30. Any second it should increase. So right now it's move speed 6. And it will be increased every, like right now, if we select game manager, you see that milestone increaser now 72. So we need for a player to reach 72 to start to have higher speed. Okay, so this now working. Next, what we want to add is to stop player when he uh, touch the wall. So for example, if I would have something, let's take this ground as copy, let's make it smaller. So if player is running, but here is some obstacle and he touching it, he would stop and all of the speed value would be increased, because right now if I run game, player won't stop it, he will try to run and we will have some weird stuff going on. So how this can be done? For that, we are going to create new game object inside of the player. And let's call it wall check. And here is solution pretty similar how we did with the ground check. We are going to like, but this time not it will be the ray as we did with the ground check, but we will draw like in front of the player. Will draw the square, and if this square is touching some obstacle, movement will stop. And again, we need to introduce some variables. Let's go to the player, and we have here our collision section. Or we need to add few additional parameters. Let's define them. First, it will be a transform, because we need to get the position of this child object which we created. So let's create private transform, and it will be wall check. So it will be this child object which we just created. At next, we need to define wall check size, because we are going to draw the square. And just for visualization purposes, let's go to our draw gizmos and let's try to draw square here. In similar way how we already did, I'm going to use draw wire cube. Here we need to add the center and the size. Center, it will where our wall check object is located. So it will be wall check position. And as size, we are going to use wall check size. Okay, so it's plain. I think it shouldn't be float. It should be vector 2. Okay, like this. So now when we open the game, let's find this wall check. So here inside of the player, we have wall check size. Let's try to increase its values. Okay, why I don't see anything. Wall check, I should be able to see the square to be drawn. Maybe I just need to start game first. Let's try. Let's start the game. So game is started. Let's now open the player, and I still don't see. Let me check. Oh, this is happening because we forgot to assign our wall check to the player script. So here we have wall check. There is nothing. We need to drag our transfer object. And now I need to stop the game. Let's do it one more time. Wall check is here. Let's reset coordinates of wall check. And you see, we have here square. But the location is not very good, so we need to move it by X on the front. Something like this, maybe 0.4. I think that should be fine. And next, let's tune the size. So we have I think it can be like this, and size needs to be higher. Something like this. So now we have it. but we just using the function to draw. It's not really doing anything. So we need to code the functionality. But again, it would be done in the similar way how we did is grounded, is ceiling. We need to add one more parameter and call it isWall. So where do we have those defined? Let's add here and let's call it isWall. So it will return true or false if we're touching the wall or not. And now let's do it. So isWall, I'm going to do again physics 2D and box cast. So we're going to cast the box. And there is few parameters which we need to give. First, position, where we are starting. Next is the size. Then we need to provide the angle, which we don't care right now. Direction, we also don't care, so I can use vector to 0. And distance, which we also don't care at this case. And finally, we need to mask. And because we are using the ground mask angle, what's wrong? What is complaining about distance, but something wrong here. I need let's verify one more time. It should be overload of the method, which is here I'm using it should be wall check size. Wall check size, and finally at the end our mask which we are checking because we don't want to return true or false every time. And I think we can move this to the separate method. So let's do it. Extract method and check player collisions sounds good. Let's create. So now we have separate method where we are checking the collisions. So now once we have this isWall, we can stop player movement. We should have this move method. And inside of this method, we can have conditions. So if isWall to true, we are simply executing return. So once this true, function is exited and nothing is happening. And let's try to run the game to see if movement would be stopped. Okay, you see player touch and no movements happening. So if I remove it, player is running again. So now we have this. We want to reset player speed because if player has very high speed and he touches this obstacle, speed needs to decrease to the initial values. So let's go to the game manager script. And we need few additional variables here. We want to save the default values, which were at the point when we started the game. So let's create default speed, and another is to default milestone. And we want to retrieve those values in the start method. So once we are starting the game, we are retrieving those values. So I'm going to assign to the default speed player move speed, and to default milestone milestone increaser. So now once we have these values, we can create new method which we call reset speed. Private void reset speed. And it's pretty simple. We can just take player move speed and set it to the default speed. And we can take milestone increaser and set it to the default milestone. So it's very simple, but what is not simple, how can we execute this method? This method is private and player don't know anything about our game manager. and somehow we need to trigger the method when we are touching a wall. So in this here, somehow we need to execute this method. So what we can use is the Unity events. So let's define event first, and let's see how it works. It needs to be public. So let's create public here at the top. Public, and type would be Unity event. Unity event, and let's call it on wall collision. So now we have it, and we can execute this event. So in on wall collision, I'm going to use this syntax invoke. So what does it mean? So we are checking, this symbol is checking if on wall collision is not null. So if something is present here inside, we are going to invoke. But what we are going to invoke? And what we're going to invoke is inside from the game manager. So we need to subscribe to this event. So here we have in the start, because we want to do this when game is started, we have player, and player we have on wall collision. And we are on wall collision, this is our event, which we have defined here. And this event has method which is called add listener. And inside of the bracket, we specify a method, which is our reset speed. So what happened? When game is started, our game manager start like subscribing to those events and it's listening when this event would happen. Inside of the player, inside of the move function, once player is touching the wall, we are executing this event. And because our game manager is listening, it will execute reset speed. So every time when player touching the wall, new event would be created and game manager would be notified that this event is happened and reset speed is executed. So now let's try this in action. I need to move this somewhere like 150, and I think let's choose player speed a bit higher, like 10. Let's start the game. Let's see that player speed is increased. We have some jittering. We need to figure out like why this is happening, but that's for next video. Now let's check the player. So you see, player speed was 14, but once we touch this obstacle, it was reset back to the 10. So this working fine. And another thing which I want to show you is to increase animation speed. When player speed is increased, we want to increase also animation speed. So here we have in our animator, we have idle run, and we have this blend tree where we have the run. So let's just delete this run. And let's create new blend tree. We also going to call it run. And it's using X velocity, which is right, and now let's add here some motion fields. Okay, well, I think 4 would be enough, and we can add always more. And for each of them, I'm going to drag a run animation. So we have this 4. We're repeating this 4 times. And let's add some threshold. So let's start maybe with first it will be 10, then maybe 15, 20, and 25. And for first, we are going to use 1 as animation speed. Here, when x velocity is higher, we're going to use something as 1.2. Then we can try it 1.4 at maybe at the end 1.6. This may be too fast, but let's run and see. And we don't need this. Let's run the game and let's see if animation speed is increasing. So right now it's running like this. Let's check the player. Oh, maybe we can check the animator. So right now you see X velocity is 14. So which animation is played? It should be played its force animation. You see its animation, he's moving faster, and once X velocity reached 25, we would play the latest what we have right now. Oh, because it's not possible to reach 25 because we limited our speed for 20. But let's go to the game manager and let's set max speed as 30. And what happened? I think we made it very slow. Let's stop the game. Let's go to the manager and let's set max speed to 30. Let's run game one more time. So right now we have velocity set to the 10. So this first animation is played. Next we have 20, nothing happening. 14, we almost ready to switch to the second animation because we have threshold. So second animation is ready. Now we play in the third, he's moving faster, and 24. And right now it's moving much more faster. Okay, so that's all what I wanted to show you. Thank you and have a nice day.